So like as we were talking, as things were getting started, you were talking about kind of the marijuana industry as a whole right now, and just how this is an interesting time in it because of still some of the way legislation is.
Yeah. So you technically, can't cross state lines with products, right? So each state regulates the industry, as it sees fit. But therefore you can, and because it's federally illegal, you can't actually cross those state lines from different states. Even though now you have places like California, Oregon, and Washington, and now Nevada, where they're all legal, but yet you can't cross those state lines. So whenever I travel, I absolutely take, the opportunity to go into different dispensaries, whether it's in California, Vegas, now Arizona, because I want to go in and I want to see what's being grown there and how different those products are and what's being, kind of spun up in different places. I mean, it's very unique for us at this point in time because once things do become federally legal and more big business gets involved, you're going to get them bringing in economies of scale and
we're going to get Marlboro.
You're going to get simplified and therefore then, there will be different products similar to alcohol, right? But it's not going to be, even that becomes where for a long time there's a beer called Yingling.
Yep.
Sorry. Where you could only really get it if you're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
It's everywhere in Texas now.
Right. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's spread out in the last 10 years or so.
It becomes, where those unique items aren't necessarily any unique to you anymore. And, us as, marijuana users or aficionados, however you want to look at it, I kind of look at this as a very fun, unique time to be able to get those different experiences because it isn't all the same yet.
So almost like craft beer popularizing, except backwards.
Yeah. No, you're 100% correct. And then just thinking of how like different growers do things. And, I was telling you about the grower out of Colorado that we are big fans of, House of Dankness, because
House of Dankness. I'm in the wrong industry for naming businesses.
His situation is so unique though, because he is such a good cultivator that he was able to kind of take his product and control it, right? He built his own state-of-the-art grow, which is, from what I've seen in videos and pictures, is one of the most incredible facilities there exists. And then, within that facility is an 800 square foot storefront that's his dispensary, where you can only buy his marijuana. And so therefore the product is consistent at all times because the growing situation, the grower is the same at all times. And that's when you start to when you're able to kind of find that consistent product because of how the growing conditions can affect the plant so much, whether it's, the time of harvest or the humidity levels or how much light it's getting. Is it artificial light? So on and so forth. You can take the same strain of weed and grow it 10 different ways and kind of get 10 different highs, right? Whereas within his situation, an individual who, starts experimenting with his strains can get more of a grasp on what they like, from a hybrid or a sativa or an indica because of the consistency of the product. And so, we're at a point in our lives that's pretty much the only marijuana that we smoke because we know what we're going to get every single time.
Sure. And so is it not more, how regulated is the industry on quality of product?
Marijuana, unfortunately, I don't know that as well because I don't have as much, experience in the growing side.
Or I guess hemp in general, like for whether you're growing CBD or CBG or anything.
So hemp in general, the regulation of is once again state by state, right?
Fucking what the Wild West it is.
It becomes it's a federally legal, product at this point because of the Farm Bill Act, but then each state starts to kind of get their own ideas of how they want it to grow. And then once again, because it is more of an industrial crop and it is being grown outside, those conditions once again play into a factor of those things. So, early on, Colorado was one of the primary points along with Oregon prior to the explosion of CBD. And 2018 really was that first year that all of a sudden there was farmers everywhere. And then what we were starting to see is like places up in Oregon, specifically Bend, where there's a lot of grape farms for wineries. The growing conditions up there were almost just ideal for a quality hemp product.
So similar wine and...
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're starting to see this hemp that's being grown up there that's got really high amounts of different other cannabinoids within that plant naturally, right? And so as those plants are growing naturally and you're seeing those distillate products up there, you're starting to, and then other products are starting to spin up. So for instance, a lot of product in Kentucky was just really high in CBD and there weren't a lot of other miners. Well, what are the differences in those growing conditions that is causing that? And then there's places in Texas or Arizona that were getting these products that were super high in THC and you know what factors is you know there that causes that, light, heat, so on and so forth. So and then what's even more unique is I once had a conversation with a hemp grower that a lot of federal people were very pleased with hemp growing because it was actually causing problems for the individuals growing marijuana in fields a couple miles away, hiding it.
No shit.
Because that the hemp was then in turn fertilizing the marijuana,
fucking war on drugs,
and ruining those crops. So it's like
it's tremendous waste.
So it was really funny to kind of hear that the federal regulators are excited about hemp being grown so openly because it's causing problems from individuals that are growing marijuana
so what illegally. You're saying is if it's not illegal, it takes away a bit of the black market.
100%.
I mean, and not only that, like the even silliness of where the black market still gets involved, right, is because if there's demand for a product and scarcity is ever created in, especially if this is a state to state thing, there's no fucking way that people don't have black market deals to be able to still fill out their product with someone else's grow.
No.
Even though that's fucking illegal. I understand how it fucking works. And like, what a silly thing that we're going to pretend isn't happening because of some silly legislation. Why are we forcing more black market happenings?
No, you're absolutely correct. And I mean, honestly, it also goes back to the expense of it, right? All of a sudden marijuana is made legal, but it's also too expensive because of the amount of taxes that you pay anytime you visit a dispensary, right?
Right.
So, you know, on the streets, a dealer may sell you an ounce for $250, but you could go to a dispensary and buy an ounce for $175, but by the time you pay taxes, you're paying $275.
Right.
And so then it's like, well, why wouldn't I just go to the dealer?
And the reason why, right, is they want us to believe, or the narrative is that this is easier, but that's not true. I'm not in high school.
It does make the average, you know, 40, 50-year-old individual feel safer in some 100%. Capacity because, you know, they are, I mean, you're not really, anyone that's ever purchased marijuana from a dealer is probably not getting an education on what the product's going to do.
Yeah, no. I think as I didn't start smoking really until my 30s, I can imagine, yeah, the guy that I was buying weed from in Louisiana, shout out, what's up, dude? He just had weed.
Yeah.
Like, I just went to buy an amount, and that's what I got. I mean, that's how it works. It wasn't like the guy had a big fucking menu of options.
There's stem seeds and all sorts of other stuff.
I love the Apple Store vibe that is the dispensary world that we're currently in. I love that it's being far more normalized, and it feels somewhere that my mom can walk into and not be bummed out about.
100%, and that's the beauty of a dispensary, right? And so the problem, it all comes down to greed, whether it's government greed and them wanting things and being able to kind of, you know, put their hands in our pockets in any way, shape, or form, or, you know, in some capacity it makes people feel safer. As long as it's all leading to a revolution of people becoming more trusting in marijuana, which leads to, you know, a potential federal legalization, I guess we kind of got to take what we can get, right? And
yeah, I feel the same way, right? Like whatever it is that gets us over that goal line of ending whatever this completely silly lie is of why we're mad about this plant, or that it's unusefulness, or any of these things. It's fucking incredible at this point. But
and especially with the marijuana side too, it's sometimes I do get frustrated with individuals who, you know, look, I mean, it's the same with people who drink. They don't really think about what they're doing, right? And then you find a wine aficionado who's like, oh, you know, this, and this because of this, and this. I'm not even going to be able to try to speak wine lingo currently, but and so it does frustrate me at times because this is a really beautiful time in the history of the marijuana industry or marijuana culture, if you want to call it that, and people being able to, you know, experience different things and really, if you take the time to learn, you know, what I hear so often from people, I don't like weed, it makes me sleepy, or I don't like weed, it makes me anxious.
They're just bad at it.
they just haven't taken the time to learn themselves and learn,
Right.
you know, what they like. And where a part of strains being in the different growing conditions can play a bit of a factor in that. At the same time, if you're willing to learn, the information and the knowledge and the people are out there, right? And it's a matter of you know, taking the time to understand what those products can do.